night for the Lakers in Denver yesterday. All-stars Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic each scored 28 points to lead the Nuggets to a 120-113 win. That's all great, but this is the problem here for the Lakers. Luka Doncic picked up his 15th tech of the season during the loss, leaving him just one technical away from an automatic one-game suspension. So, okay, they lose the game. Fine. The Nuggets are a good basketball team, but now we have to zoom in a little bit on what's happening here with Luka Doncic. Does it feel like he's underachieving as the superstar of this Lakers squad, DD?
Yeah, he's not doing what he was promised to do. Let's look at the beginning of this season, right? Everybody was talking about Luka. He's going to be in shape. Luka comes in. I'm slim. I'm on the cover of Men's Health. I'm svelte. I'm doing all this stuff that I need to do.
Svelte the word.
And the problem is that don't help you on defense. There are skinny people all across the league who cannot play defense. There are skinny people all across the league who get beat on back screens, who get blown by, which, by the way, Luka Doncic is on a per-game basis getting blown by more than anybody else in the league, which means your defense falls apart. He's not even defending the best players on the opposite side of the court when this is happening. Your team is failing in large part because you have a deficiency, and we cannot play you on the court with Austin Reeves and LeBron James. LeBron James got an excuse, right? LeBron James, 23. He got an excuse. One of you guys has to play defense, and that's Luka Doncic, the guy who came into this season promising that he was going to do it. You have failed to do so this season.
Yeah, but we knew that the Lakers were going to struggle on the defensive end this year. This is not new news, right?
That doesn't absolve him.
I'm a huge Lakers fan, and I knew that this team was going to struggle on defense because they're not built appropriately with a star like Luka Doncic. We saw when the Dallas Mavericks were at their best, when they made a run to the NBA Finals, they were built a certain way. They had guys that could be rim protectors. They had guys that were good perimeter defenders because they had to account for Luka Doncic being a deficiency on that end of the court. And guess what? They did that, and Luka carried them to a finals. The Lakers aren't built like that in large part because they can't with the allocation of resources with LeBron James still on that team, which is why it's madness to me to even consider LeBron James coming back for a farewell tour next year because that's going to burn a year of Luka Doncic in his prime. But that's neither here nor there. The part as a Lakers fan that frustrates me the most is that you would want Luka Doncic. I'm a Lakers fan. I've been a Lakers fan since Magic Johnson and Showtime. I'm a huge Lakers fan. That's hard to do growing up in New York City. The part that's frustrating to me is that this guy has not matured while being in the proximity of greatness with the Lakers organization and with LeBron James, who in my book is the second greatest to lace him up. I was so optimistic coming into this season about Luka evolving as a personality, as a leader, him taking his health and wellness seriously, getting into better shape. I said, you know what? Maybe this is the LeBron James effect. Not that LeBron James is a mentor, but LeBron James being around him, seeing how he goes about his business as a professional could have a positive impact on Luka. And this issue with the referees and jawing at him and using profanity at him, knowing how that's going to end, has not changed. And at some point, you just have to acknowledge that he has not matured in the way that we would expect a pro in the face of a franchise to when they get into their latter 20s.
You said it in the beginning when you got Luka, this is what you expect. That's like the Chris Rock line. That tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger. Like, that's Luka. This is who he is. And it's easy to have a revenge body in the offseason when you don't have to play every other day and you don't have to keep your diet in order. You're more regimented. I think that Luka in year 9, and this is what we're going to be looking at next season, year 9 of Luka. He profiles and tracks like a James Harden, like a player who controls so much of the offense, is a system unto himself, but how much are you asking of him on a defensive end? You said it, Canty. Dallas, for all of Nico Harrison's faults, he built the team around Luka that hid those deficiencies. You got wing defenders, you got lone guys that can protect the rim and finish above the rim. He's not impossible to build around, but there has to be a commitment from him to acknowledge this is my franchise, this is a part of something that I have to be actively building. And here's the other part too, and we have to be honest about this. When Nico Harrison traded him, he said to me, not to me, but he said to the world, you're a loser. You carried my team to the NBA Finals, and I'm trading you 5 months later. That's him saying, I think you are a loser. I don't think that you can win with you as the headliner. Everything about Luka since then should not just be about, oh, Nico did me wrong. Everything about that should be saying, I am better than that. I am not just a winning basketball player, I am a champion. And the fact that he hasn't elevated himself and begun to try he tries on occasion, but then it tails off. Like seriously, it tails off. He's the student that gets an A by showing up, and then when it's time to study, he's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. That's where he is at this point, and I don't know how the Lakers are going to build around that in the future.
Let's take us back. Let's take a little way back here. 2020, we're in the bubble.
Ooh, well, we got to go back there.
We're in the bubble.
I know. Back there.
A different time.
We will.
We're in the bubble, right? We're washing our vegetables, doing all that stuff. Luka Doncic is playing the Clippers.
There it is.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hits this shot, and you're thinking about this dude who is single-handedly toppling this Clippers team, right? 6 years ago, if I'd have told you that Luka Doncic has not won an MVP 6 years later, what would you say?
Shot's so clean, too.
That shot is this dude looked like the future, right? And there was a misnomer about that Dallas Mavericks run to the finals. During the second half of that season when they were making that run, Luka was playing really good defense. Mm-hmm. That was a great defensive team, in part because of what Luka was doing. So for half a season, he showed some of that promise. But overall, in these 6 years, this dude has not cracked the MVP. Even the discussion topped out at third at MVP. Nobody's talking about him as a legitimate MVP candidate right now.
Well, third is pretty high.
You're in the conversation.
But he was not realistically going to win that award, right?
So to your point, I feel like the greats, the basketball greats, the players we love, MJ, LeBron at one point, let's take his age out now, go down the line. They're two-way players, and Luka's not that. What are you pointing to? One half of a season? How is he ever going to be that superstar that the Lakers need him to be if he listen, we talk about the text. It's problematic, though, because he's too busy arguing with the ref to get back on defense and help his team out. He's not even a willing defender, let alone a good one. He's not even a willing defender.
Just be present. That's all. Just put your body.
We're not asking for much.
Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks ain't a good defender, but Jalen Brunson will get in the way. He'll get run over slow. He leads the league in charges that he's taken. And you're just asking Luka to be more mindful of positioning so he can make the lives of all the other players on the defensive end of the court a little bit easier. But he isn't doing that because he's self-absorbed and he's focusing on jawing with the refs. And I understand players wanting to trash talk to get themselves going, but usually that's at the opponents. It's not at the refs.
Right.
And I can't understand why Luka continues to get caught up in this, and this could put his team at a detriment. You're talking about last night against the Nuggets. That was a one-possession game in the final 2 minutes. So there was no margin for error. And to make mistakes throughout that game, and particularly in the second half when he gets that technical, is just inexcusable. Not for a leader of a team in the face of that franchise.
Not for nothing. The Lakers have a task in front of them this offseason. Assuming they say goodbye to LeBron James, they'll have more money. They have to take care of Austin Reeves, and you have to go about building a team around Luka's talents. Let's not take the responsibility off them, because when you acquire a Luka Doncic, I don't care if it's a gift. You've got to understand what you're bringing into your building and what type of future you have to have around him. So it's just as much incumbent on the Lakers to build around Luka, knowing what they have, as it is on Luka to make himself a champion.
I'll push back on that one, because before, when the Dallas Mavericks moved on from Luka and Nico Harrison traded him, everybody thought Nico Harrison was crazy. If this doesn't work in L.A., nobody's going to blame the Lakers front office for it not getting to the championship round.
Yes, they will.
Not before they blame Luka Doncic. That's the issue that I'm talking about. In Dallas, they didn't win a championship with Luka. Shame on the Dallas Mavericks. With the Lakers, you don't win a championship with that organization that has proven they know how to win championships with almost every kind of star you want to imagine in NBA history. If they don't get it done with an owner that has more resources than God, then ultimately that's going to fall.
For LeBron. He entered the night 3 field goals away from passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most made field goals in NBA history. And here's the shot that did it on the ISO, fade away, and it's good. With that, he surpasses the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. No one has ever made more baskets in NBA history than has LeBron James. P.S. They were down 10 after 1. Third quarter, Nuggets up 8. Jokic, Jamal Murray. Vince, he would score 28 on this night.
Denver, all they have to do, Greeny, is get healthy. If they get healthy, they have so many guys who can feed off of Jokic. They just have to get Aaron Gordon back, who they're going to get back tonight. Peyton Watson, Cameron Johnson. If they do, they're going to be such a dangerous team this postseason.
That was Jokic feeding off himself. He had a triple-double there last night. Now here's Luka, step back 3 off the bank, 27 for him. It's a 7-point Denver lead going to the fourth. And now here's Jokic. Again, that's not a good matchup.
For anybody. Nobody's guarding him.
He had 28 and 12 and 13. 4 minutes to go. Lakers down by 6. There's LeBron. Takes a hard fall. Needed some time to get up. A little bit of an elbow injury. We watch it again. LeBron would score 16 points. The good news, whatever it was, not serious. He would go off the floor. It looked bad, but he would check back in quite quickly thereafter. Here's where the game's decided. 30 seconds to go. Nuggets by 3. Jokic puts it away. So on a night where LeBron makes some history, it is the Nuggets who get the win, 120-113. Also in this game, and it wasn't really easy to see, Luka Doncic got another technical foul. You see him here as the play continues. He looks, that's the most typical Luka expression. What? What are you talking about? But he got his 15th technical foul of the season. I want to bring Tim McMahon in on that conversation because for those of you not familiar, Tim, you covered the Mavericks. You were around Luka basically his entire career. What do we say about this? He's now 1 technical foul away from a suspension.
Yeah, and Luka didn't think he deserved this technical. We'll see if the league office agrees. They tend to be more lenient with Luka in terms of rescinding technical fouls the closer he gets to a suspension. But it's not even really about the risk of a suspension here. Why didn't you see what Luka did to get a technical foul? Because it happened right after he missed a shot. He wanted to complain instead of getting back on defense. The refs weren't going to blow the whistle to stop the transition possession, and so they wait until it's a wide open 3 because it's 4-on-5 basketball. And that's the thing with Luka. Forget about the tees. You constantly complain instead of getting back on defense. This happens multiple times a game, hundreds of times a year. He has acknowledged many times that this is an issue. I don't want to hear how much Luka wants to win. If he's going to continue to prioritize whining instead of running back on defense, he's putting his team in a bad spot over and over and over again.
You know, it's interesting, Vince. J.J. Redick said a couple of weeks ago, I forget exactly what day it was, he said, we're the Lakers, so everything is louder. And I think that's the case with Luka, too. This has been him for a long time, as Tim is pointing out. But in Dallas, we didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. Look at the numbers. Look at all of his offense. Now, some of the nitpicking or whatever it is you want to call it, it's a lot more on full display. What are the right things to say about him this morning?
I go back to the NBA Finals a couple years ago, and the Dallas Mavericks were down. Remember that?
Sure.
And he drew a charge. He thought he drew a charge on Jaylen Brown. It was his 6th foul. He shouldn't have been in that position anyway. He yelled at the bench to challenge the play. It was clear that it was a defensive foul. You wound up taking the challenge, losing the challenge. He fouls out. You lose the game. That's the Luka Doncic experience in a nutshell, the bad of it, because you have to have the right judgment in those moments. And sometimes he gets so wrapped up in it, he does not exercise the best judgment.
Okay, let me leave that there because I want to get to our top story today. I feel like there's more to get to with the Lakers, and we will. But the next stop is Boston. We have Vince Goodwill in here. There's nothing in the world we love on this show more than a name-based pun. And so I present for the first time Goodwill Hunting. I'm going to be totally honest with you. We came up with the name before we came up with the segment. So we're still working on the segment. Here's what we're going to try today. I'm going to name a team, and you're going to tell me, is that team legitimately in the hunt to win the NBA championship? If it goes great, that's the feature. If not, we'll find something else. But the name is a keeper, okay? Here we go, Goodwill. Are the Lakers legitimately in the championship hunt?
They're legitimately not. You got to see exactly why last night. Defensively, Greeny, they're bottom 3rd in the NBA. Their top 3 players cannot defend at a high level, and they're not good enough offensively to offset that. That will be a problem. The only way I see them get out of the first round is if they play Houston, because they are so good in the clutch, and Houston is so bad.
Tim McMahon is with us. Tim, you agree with that second round, the ceiling for the Lakers?
I hate to agree with Vinny, but for once he is right. Listen, the Lakers had home court advantage last year and got bounced in the first round in 5 games. They're not a better team this year. They're unlikely to have home court advantage. I think Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves can be the core of a contender, but it is going to take drastically upgrading the supporting cast and getting a defensive infrastructure that they absolutely do not have right now.
It's 1:30 a.m. in Los Angeles, and I'm sitting here in my Lakers jersey that's seen better days, staring at my phone screen with the kind of existential crisis that only comes from watching your team find a new way to break your heart. My neighbor's dog is barking, probably because he sensed the collective scream that just erupted from every Lakers household in Southern California. My wife has given up asking why I do this to myself every March, and my kids have learned that Daddy gets quiet for exactly 47 minutes after certain types of losses. Tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight was supposed to be the night we looked at ourselves in the mirror and said, yeah, we can do this championship thing. Instead, I'm here questioning everything I know about basketball, about loyalty, about whether it's possible to love something so much that it literally shortens your lifespan. But you know what the crazy thing is? Even after watching what just happened in Denver, even after experiencing the kind of sporting heartbreak that should require a prescription, I'm already thinking about tomorrow's game. Because that's what it means to be one of us. If you're reading this, instead of burning your Lakers gear in the backyard like a rational person would, smash that like button and let's process this beautiful disaster together. The thing about being a Lakers fan in 2026 is that it requires the emotional fortitude of a Navy SEAL combined with the optimistic delusion of someone who buys lottery tickets every week, convinced this time will be different. We've become connoisseurs of almost victories, experts in moral defeats, and philosophers of what could have been scenarios. Tonight's 120-113 loss to Denver wasn't just another regular season game. It was a microcosm of everything maddening and beautiful about following this franchise. Let me paint you the picture of how we got here, because the details matter when you're trying to understand why thousands of grown adults are currently questioning their life choices. The Denver Nuggets, who normally would have Aaron Gordon making our perimeter defense look like traffic cones, were without their versatile defender. Cam Johnson, who could have been raining threes on our heads all evening like some kind of basketball meteorologist, was nowhere to be found. Peyton Watson, who would typically be using his athleticism to make our offensive sets look like they were designed by someone who learned basketball from YouTube videos, was sitting at home probably laughing at whatever we were about to do to ourselves. This was the basketball equivalent of being handed a layup, and somehow we managed to miss the rim entirely. I've been watching the Lakers for long enough to have seen some truly creative ways to lose basketball games, but this felt different. This felt like we were actively trying to discover new methods of snatching defeat from the jaws of opportunity, like we were conducting some kind of scientific experiment to see how many different ways a talented team can make the simple complicated. The first quarter unfolded like a fever dream where everything that could go wrong decided to go wrong simultaneously. We spotted Denver 13 points because apparently we thought they needed a head start, like we were playing basketball with our little cousin, and wanted to make sure he didn't get discouraged. Watching those opening 12 minutes was like watching someone try to parallel park a school bus. Technically possible, but painful for everyone involved. But here's where this story gets complicated, where my rational brain starts fighting with my Lakers fan heart, because buried beneath all the frustration and missed opportunities was something that keeps me coming back for more punishment. When this team decided to actually play basketball instead of whatever interpretive dance they were performing in the first quarter, they looked genuinely dangerous. There were stretches where everything clicked, where you could see the championship caliber team hiding underneath all the dysfunction. I'm talking about those moments where LeBron orchestrated the offense like he was conducting a symphony, where Luka made passes that defied the laws of physics and common sense, where Austin Reeves hit shots that had no business going in while looking like he was having the time of his life. These weren't fluky plays or lucky bounces. This was legitimate high-level basketball that made you remember why you fell in love with this game in the first place. The maddening part is that we know this version of the Lakers exists. We've seen it enough times to know it's not a mirage or wishful thinking. The talent is real, the chemistry has shown itself in flashes, and the coaching staff clearly understands what they're doing based on how effectively they neutralized Jokic for large stretches of the game. But knowing that this team is capable of greatness while watching them consistently fall short of that potential is like being shown a treasure map, but never quite being able to reach the X that marks the spot. Let's talk about what happened in that fourth quarter, because it perfectly encapsulated everything beautiful and frustrating about this Lakers season. We're down by a manageable margin, the crowd is getting into it, and you can feel the momentum shifting in our direction. Austin Reeves, our most reliable shooter from the charity stripe, gets fouled with a chance to tie the game. This is the moment every Lakers fan has been waiting for. Our clutch performer with an opportunity to send the game to overtime and give us a chance to steal a crucial road victory. The free throw leaves his hand looking perfect with the kind of rotation and arc that makes you start celebrating before the ball reaches the rim. And then basketball decides to remind us that nothing is ever guaranteed, that even routine plays can turn into heartbreak when you least expect it. The ball hits the back rim and bounces out, and suddenly that potential overtime becomes another moral victory, another "we were right there" conversation that Lakers fans have become way too familiar with. The sequence of events that followed that missed free throw felt like watching a carefully orchestrated collapse in slow motion. Layups that should have been automatic suddenly became impossible. Players who had been shooting confidently all season started second-guessing themselves in crucial moments. It was like watching a master chef suddenly forget how to boil water. Technically, these are things our players do successfully hundreds of times throughout the season, but pressure has a way of making the simple seem impossible. Marcus Smart, who had been hitting threes earlier in the game, found himself with multiple open looks from beyond the arc and couldn't connect when we needed it most. These weren't contested shots against elite defense. These were the kind of open opportunities that role players are supposed to capitalize on to help their star players. But basketball has a cruel sense of humor, and it decided that the one time we desperately needed secondary scoring was the perfect moment to remind us that nothing is ever as easy as it looks. The LeBron James situation adds another layer of complexity to an already complicated evening. Watching him break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time field goals record should have been a moment of pure celebration, the kind of historical achievement that makes you feel privileged to witness greatness. Instead, that milestone was immediately overshadowed by his elbow injury and the team's inability to secure what should have been a winnable game. There's something deeply symbolic about LeBron reaching 15,038 career field goals made during a loss that perfectly captures the duality of this Lakers season: individual excellence surrounded by collective frustration, historical achievements undermined by missed opportunities, moments of brilliance followed by inexplicable lapses in execution. It's like the basketball gods are determined to make sure that nothing comes easy for this franchise, that every positive development must be balanced by some corresponding challenge. LeBron's description of his injury as a super more intense funny bone situation somehow manages to be both concerning and amusing at the same time. Only LeBron could find a way to make a potentially serious elbow injury sound like something that happened during a pickup game at the local gym. But the fact that he couldn't finish the game despite his legendary pain tolerance suggests this might be more significant than his casual description would indicate. Watching LeBron continue to play at an elite level at 41 years old serves as a daily reminder of how fortunate we are to witness this level of sustained excellence. Every game he plays is borrowed time in the best possible way. Every record he breaks adds another layer to an already incredible legacy, and every moment he spends in a Lakers uniform is something that will become more precious as time passes. The challenge for Lakers fans is learning how to appreciate LeBron's continued greatness while managing the anxiety that comes from knowing this window won't stay open forever. His health becomes increasingly important with each passing game, not just for this season, but for our collective ability to enjoy watching one of the greatest players in basketball history continue to defy Father Time on a nightly basis. Now let's address the DeAndre Ayton situation, because I feel like we need to have an honest conversation about what we witnessed in those 4.5 minutes before his knee decided it had seen enough basketball for one evening. The man posted a -13 rating in less time than it takes most people to order coffee at Starbucks, which might actually be some kind of record for negative impact and minimal playing time. Watching Ayton lumber around the court with all the enthusiasm of someone who's been forced to attend a mandatory work meeting on a Saturday afternoon has become a painful ritual that I'm not sure any of us signed up for. Here's a player who should be dominant simply based on his size and athleticism, but instead plays like he's perpetually confused about why everyone expects him to be good at basketball just because he's 7 feet tall and was selected first overall in the NBA draft. The contrast between Ayton's approach to the game and Jackson Hayes' energy level is so stark that it's almost comical. Hayes enters the game looking like he's been waiting his entire life for this opportunity, immediately starts making winning plays, and somehow we're still having debates about rotation minutes. The mathematics are straightforward. Hayes plus 72 for the season, Ayton minus 58, creating a differential that my calculator assures me is statistically significant and practically meaningful. Hayes plays basketball like he understands that it's supposed to be fun, that energy matters, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply try harder than the other person. He sets screens with conviction, runs the floor with purpose, and finishes around the rim with the kind of authority that makes you believe good things are about to happen. His 19 points on 8 of 10 shooting against Denver wasn't just efficient production, it was a demonstration of what happens when talent meets effort and opportunity. The broader question becomes whether we're going to continue prioritizing salary over production, potential over performance, and reputation over reality. Hayes has earned the right to receive consistent minutes through his play, his attitude, and his understanding of what this team needs from the center position. He doesn't need 20 touches per game to feel validated. He doesn't require elaborate offensive sets to be effective, and he never looks like he'd rather be somewhere else. Meanwhile, Ayton approaches each game like he's doing everyone a favor by showing up, plays with the defensive intensity of someone watching basketball on television, and somehow manages to look disinterested even during his better performances. The disconnect between his talent level and his impact on winning basketball has become so pronounced that it's impossible to ignore, regardless of how much money he's making or what his draft position was 5 years ago. Here's my question for the coaching staff and front office. At what point do we stop trying to force a square peg into a round hole? Hayes fits our system, understands his role, and plays with the kind of energy that makes teammates better. These aren't abstract concepts or advanced metrics. This is observable reality that plays out every time both players are on the court. The Austin Reeves development continues to be one of the most encouraging aspects of this entire season, even considering his crucial missed free throw against Denver. What makes that miss so frustrating isn't that it represents a pattern of poor performance, but rather that it came from a player who has been remarkably clutch throughout the year. Reeves has built a reputation for hitting big shots when they matter most. for embracing pressure situations rather than avoiding them, and for playing with the kind of confidence that makes difficult shots look routine. The journey from undrafted afterthought to legitimate star has been remarkable to witness, not just because of the statistical production, but because of how Reeves has handled the increased expectations and responsibilities that come with his expanded role. There's something refreshing about watching a player who genuinely seems to enjoy being on the basketball court, who plays with obvious passion for the game, and who never looks like he's taking his opportunity for granted. What separates Reeves from many other young players is his understanding of how to impact winning in ways that extend beyond individual statistics. He makes the extra pass that leads to better shots for teammates. He takes charges that change momentum. He communicates effectively on defense, and he consistently makes basketball decisions that prioritize team success over personal recognition. These qualities can't be taught in traditional ways. They emerge from a player's innate understanding of what basketball is supposed to be about. The missed free throw against Denver will probably haunt Reeves for a few days, but it shouldn't overshadow the fact that he's been one of our most reliable performers in clutch situations all season long. The man has ice water in his veins 99% of the time, and that one miss was an anomaly rather than an indication of any fundamental issues with his approach to pressure situations. Looking ahead, Reeves represents exactly the kind of player that successful teams build around, someone who can create his own shot when necessary, set up teammates for success, defend multiple positions, and perform at his highest level when the stakes are highest. The fact that he's doing all of this while being significantly underpaid relative to his production makes him one of the most valuable assets in the entire league. The Rui Hachimura performance deserves its own celebration because it exemplified everything we want to see from our role players in crucial games. His 4 of 5 shooting from three-point range wasn't just efficient, it was perfectly timed, coming exactly when we needed secondary scoring to complement our primary options. 16 points with beautiful shot selection and a team-leading plus-minus despite the loss represents the kind of complementary production that championship teams require from their supporting cast. What I love most about Rui's approach to basketball is how he's figured out how to maximize his skill set within our system without ever needing to be the center of attention or demanding touches that aren't organically available. He spaces the floor at an elite level, moves the ball when better shots are available for teammates, and consistently steps up when opportunities present themselves without forcing situations that aren't there. The transformation of Rui from inconsistent role player to reliable contributor has been one of the most encouraging developments of this season. His shooting percentage from three-point range as a Laker tells a story about work ethic, basketball intelligence, and commitment to improvement that extends well beyond just making shots. When a player improves that dramatically in such a specific area, it usually indicates broader growth in terms of preparation, focus, and understanding of what his team needs from him. JJ Redick's decision to remove Rui from the game during our comeback attempt while he was shooting effectively will probably be debated for weeks, but it highlighted the complex decisions that coaches face when trying to balance offensive needs against defensive requirements. Keeping Marcus Smart in the game provided veteran leadership, defensive versatility, and experience in pressure situations, but sometimes you have to trust that hot shooters will continue making shots when they're in rhythm. The broader lesson from Rui's performance is that we have more talent and depth than we sometimes realize, particularly when players embrace their roles and focus on contributing to winning rather than individual recognition. His willingness to impact games without needing elaborate offensive sets or guaranteed touches makes him exactly the kind of player that successful teams depend on during playoff runs. Rui represents everything positive about players who understand their value and embrace their responsibilities without requiring constant validation or expanded roles. He's not on social media complaining about usage rates. He's not talking to reporters about deserving more shots. He's just going out there and making winning plays whenever the opportunity arises. That kind of selfless approach to basketball becomes increasingly valuable as teams navigate the pressure and intensity of meaningful games. The Luka Doncic technical foul situation has reached a point where it requires immediate and serious attention from everyone in the organization. 14 technical fouls with just 2 remaining before an automatic suspension creates a mathematical problem that could derail our entire season if not managed properly. The incident of him being separated from officials during halftime suggests that his frustration levels are reaching dangerous territory that extends beyond just in-game emotions. What makes Luka's emotional outbursts particularly concerning isn't the passion itself. That competitive fire is exactly what championship teams need from their best players. The issue is learning how to channel that intensity into productive basketball rather than confrontational interactions with referees who have the power to remove him from crucial games with a single technical foul assessment. The challenge for both Luka and the coaching staff becomes finding ways to maintain his competitive edge while developing better emotional management strategies. Players who are constantly worried about technical foul accumulation sometimes alter their natural competitive approach in ways that hurt their overall effectiveness, creating a delicate balance between staying aggressive and avoiding suspension. Luka's statistical production against Denver, 27 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, demonstrated his continued ability to stuff the stat sheet and impact multiple areas of the game simultaneously. However, his 7 turnovers highlighted ongoing challenges with ball security that become more problematic during high-pressure situations when every possession matters significantly. The development of Luka's leadership skills and basketball IQ continues to be encouraging, particularly his growing understanding of how to make teammates better through his playmaking and court vision. Watching him find Austin Reeves for open shots, set up Rui Hachimura for threes, and create easy scoring opportunities for our big men shows that he's learning the nuances of elevating everyone around him rather than just focusing on individual production. What separates truly elite players from merely very good ones is their ability to make their teammates more effective, and Luka has shown consistent growth in this area throughout the season. His willingness to make the extra pass when better shots are available, his communication on defensive rotations, and his understanding of when to take over games versus when to get others involved demonstrates the kind of basketball maturity that championship teams require from their primary initiators. The ongoing chemistry development between Luka and his teammates continues to evolve in positive directions, particularly his two-man game with Austin Reeves and his ability to find Rui Hachimura in rhythm for three-point attempts. These connections take time to develop naturally, and the fact that they're becoming more consistent and predictable gives us reason for optimism about how this team might perform when fully healthy and in rhythm. J.J. Redick's tactical approach throughout the Denver game deserves significant recognition for how effectively it neutralized Nikola Jokic and kept us competitive against a championship-caliber team on their home court. The defensive schemes that limited one of the league's most dominant players showed real preparation, basketball intelligence, and strategic understanding of how to exploit specific matchups and tendencies. What impressed me most about Redick's game plan was the variety of looks we threw at Jokic, constantly changing the defensive approach to prevent him from getting comfortable with any single coverage. Sometimes we doubled him aggressively, other times we played him straight up with different defenders, and occasionally we used zone concepts to force him into less comfortable positions. This kind of tactical flexibility requires extensive preparation and real-time adjustment capabilities. The fact that we stayed competitive despite our execution issues speaks positively to the overall strategic framework that Redick has implemented. Sometimes coaches can put their players in perfect position to succeed and still come up short because basketball ultimately requires individual players to make shots, execute under pressure, and perform in crucial moments when the margin for error becomes razor thin. Redick's willingness to experiment with different rotation combinations and matchup solutions demonstrates a coaching mindset focused on finding optimal solutions rather than just sticking with comfortable patterns. His decision-making regarding when to use timeouts, how to manage substitution patterns, and which defensive adjustments to make at different points in the game showed a coach who was actively engaged in trying to give his team every possible advantage. The development of player confidence and role clarity under Redick's guidance has been one of the most encouraging aspects of this season. Players like Jackson Hayes and Rui Hachimura are performing with increased confidence and understanding of what their team needs from them, which suggests that the coaching staff is doing an excellent job of communication and player development. Looking ahead to the broader implications of our loss and the challenges it represents, the injury situation creates immediate obstacles that extend well beyond just tomorrow's game against Indiana. Having Lebron'S elbow concerns and Ayton's knee issues simultaneously creates depth problems and rotation challenges that could affect our ability to maintain competitive consistency over the next several games. The back-to-back scheduling against a Pacers team that has lost 7 consecutive games should still result in a comfortable victory. But it also represents exactly the kind of trap game that playoff contending teams sometimes struggle with when dealing with injury concerns and fatigue issues. Indiana has nothing to lose and everything to gain from spoiling our evening, which means we can't afford to approach this matchup with anything less than complete focus and professional preparation. But here's what keeps me optimistic despite all the frustration and missed opportunities. We're still only 1.5 games behind Denver for 5th place in the Western Conference. We're comfortably ahead of Phoenix in our fight to avoid the play-in tournament, and we have enough talent to compete with anyone when we're playing at our highest level. The margin for error is smaller than we'd prefer, but the gap between where we are and where we want to be remains manageable if we can put together consistent performances over the final stretch of the regular season. Our ranking of 29th in the league in rebounding continues to be a source of frustration that affects multiple aspects of our team performance, but it also represents an area where improvement is possible through increased effort and better positioning rather than requiring dramatic personnel changes. When a team averages only 40.9 rebounds per game, they're creating additional possessions for opponents while limiting their own second-chance opportunities, which creates a mathematical disadvantage that compounds over time. The rebounding deficiency isn't necessarily about height or athleticism, it's often about anticipation, effort, and collective commitment to battling for possession. Every player on our roster can contribute to better rebounding by positioning themselves more effectively, reading shots earlier to predict bounces, and being willing to engage in physical battles for loose balls. These are the kinds of improvements that championship teams make during the course of a season as they identify weaknesses and address them through increased attention to detail. What gives me hope about our rebounding potential is that we've shown the ability to dominate the glass in specific games when everyone commits to the effort required. The difference between our best rebounding performances and our worst often comes down to energy level and collective focus, rather than fundamental limitations in talent or size. The championship window discussion becomes more complex when you factor in LeBron's age, potential free agency decisions, and the timeline for continued excellence from our veteran core. At 41 years old, every game LeBron plays is precious, every playoff run becomes potentially more significant, and every opportunity to compete for championships carries additional weight because we don't know how many more chances we'll have. But rather than dwelling on the finite nature of this opportunity, I prefer to focus on the fact that we currently have LeBron James playing at an elite level, Luka Doncic continuing to develop into one of the most dynamic players in the world, Austin Reeves establishing himself as a cornerstone performer, and a supporting cast that has shown the ability to contribute meaningfully when given opportunities to impact winning. The foundation for sustainable success extends beyond just this season, particularly with younger players like Reeves and Hayes showing significant development that could provide value for years to come. The organizational infrastructure, coaching staff, and front office approach suggest that this franchise is positioned to remain competitive even as the current core ages and eventually transitions. Looking ahead to the remainder of the regular season and hopefully a deep playoff run, the key becomes maintaining health, developing consistency, and building the kind of collective chemistry that allows teams to perform at their highest level when the stakes are highest. We have all the necessary components, talent, coaching, organizational support, and veteran leadership to compete with anyone in the league when we're at our best. The road ahead will undoubtedly include more challenges, frustrations, and tests of our collective resolve as fans. But that's what makes being part of Lakers Nation so special, the understanding that we're not just cheering for a team, but participating in a legacy that spans generations and represents the highest standards of professional basketball excellence. So whether LeBron's elbow feels better tomorrow, whether our role players continue stepping up in crucial moments, whether Luka can avoid his next technical foul, or whether we can finally solve our rebounding issues through collective effort, I'm going to keep believing that this team has something special in store for us. Because that's what Lakers fans do. We believe until the final buzzer sounds. We support our team through inevitable ups and downs, and we never forget that we're part of the greatest franchise in basketball history. The championship dreams might have taken a hit in Denver, but they're not dead. Not even close. And as long as we have LeBron, Luka, and this incredible fan base supporting them, anything is possible in purple and gold.